So I realized the other day that I have been making videos on succeeding on Amazon for years at this point, but I've never talked about my three most profitable sourcing methods. And so today I want to be sure to cover that for everyone. Now, to have some full disclosure here, my most profitable sourcing methods may be a little bit on the slower side. They may also be things that are a little bit more boring and they take some extra efforts to actually work for your business, but they are the most profitable because of those very reasons. There may be many methods that I've taught on this channel and in other places that you can find leads and products much faster. But if you're looking to separate yourself from all the other Amazon arbitrage resellers out there, or even wholesale sellers out there, then going through and having these three methods will help you to separate your profit margins and increase those with some more stable products. But before we get into that, if you don't know who I am, my name's Jimmy Smith, and I've built and scaled multiple 6- and 7-figure businesses online, and I've trained thousands of other sellers to do the same. And I make these videos because I want to help those that are seeking financial freedom to be able to start, grow, and scale their online businesses in multiple different streams of income, just like I have. So let's go ahead and get into my three most profitable sourcing methods for Amazon arbitrage and wholesale. All right, now that I have my screen up here, I'm going to talk about the very first one, which is actually manual sourcing. Now, nobody likes to hear the word manual whenever you're trying to start and grow a business. That's always the most boring method, typically. Anything that requires manual effort. Yes, there are faster sourcing methods, which I've talked about plenty, but this first one is manual sourcing, and the reason it's the most profitable because it is the most boring. It's the one that requires the most work. And so I wanted to kind of go through how manual sourcing works, and then we'll get into the other two, which kind of speeds up the process a little bit more. But this first way, to me, if you understand manual sourcing, then you're going to be able to understand reselling, arbitrage on Amazon, on Walmart, on other platforms, because this is the one that requires kind of the foundational mindset to succeed with it. Now, manual sourcing is simply that. You go to a website, maybe you have a brand, maybe you go into a category, or if you're inside of a retail store and you're in retail arbitrage and you're just looking at the products, you're actually going to be manually looking at each product and each brand one by one. That's never fun. Obviously, I started with just a brand here that I could utilize at Walmart, which is Bullseye barbecue sauce. Now, not everyone is ungated in the grocery category, but there are 14 other categories that new sellers are ungated in. I actually have a video on those, but you can check those out if you're a new seller that's gated in grocery. Start in the categories you're ungated in. And really the process is going one by one. So if you were to start in any department, for instance, arts and crafts, grocery, musical instruments, office supplies, you would then go through one by one, pulling over to Amazon.com and pulling up the actual brand that you're looking for. So in this case, I have Bullseye barbecue sauce here. I went over to Amazon and I searched up Bullseye barbecue. Now, whenever I do this, I can see that there's a sponsored listing here. It's a case of 12. There's a 3-pack here, and Amazon has some weird rules with multi-packs in grocery specifically that I've covered on other videos. But for the purposes of this video, I'm just going to be looking at the single packs. And the reason is because Amazon does have specific rules on how 3-packs can be sent into the platform and how they need to be listed. But in looking at this first listing here, it says 510 grams, which is actually 18 ounces. If I go back to the Walmart listing, you can see here, this is an 18-ounce bottle of Bullseye original barbecue sauce. It's selling for $2.52 a bottle. This is currently listed on here at $12.99. It has 2 FBA sellers, and it also sells over 100 times per month according to Amazon. So if we actually open up this listing, we can see that if I bought this at $2.52, I'd make $3.95 or 157% return on investment for an 18-ounce bottle of barbecue sauce. Now, naturally, you have to ask the question of, okay, what does Keepa look like? Is this a random one-off price spike, or is this fairly consistent? Now, if I scroll down to Keepa here, you can see that yes, the price has gone up recently, but even so, it used to be priced at about $9 to $10, depending on when you saw that throughout the year. So if this were to, drop down to even $9, which would be fairly low in comparison to the last few months, we'd still make $1 in profit or 42% return on investment. Now, obviously, I want to make the 157% ROI, but this is a good safety check, right? That if ultimately it drops back down to its old price point here, then I should be able to get my money back out of this product. And in this case, that even make $1 minus some Amazon prep fees or whatever else you may have to incur to send in this product. But ultimately, this does take into consideration the inbound shipping to Amazon and all of the other costs associated. So really all it would be a poly bag and a sticker and your time to send that in to Amazon. So really, as we're looking at this would be an excellent opportunity to send in a product that sells really fast, currently selling at about $13 a piece. And ultimately, this is a potentially good opportunity. Now, since this is on YouTube, I wouldn't necessarily recommend going out and buying this and sending it in. But then what we would continue to do is go back to this Amazon webpage and look for more of these types of listings. Now, this is a pack of 2. I would want to make sure that if I was looking for a multi-pack for a brand, that it ultimately was a UPC that matched to that brand. And I've covered that on other videos. You can check that out on GS1 barcode lookup. If you look up GS1 barcode lookup on Google, you can find it, enter in the UPC that is tied to this ASIN. And if the UPC is then tied to the brand, like Bullseye, then that would help you to ensure that ultimately the brand owns that UPC and you can find 2 packs that you could source and send in, because a 2-pack selling at $30 and it's sold over 100 times in the last month as well. But if we're just looking for single packs here, this one says generic. We avoid generics because Amazon typically does not like generic listings. I don't care how much they sell, I avoid them. And so we would continue to go down and look at all of these. So this would be a brown sugar and hickory barbecue sauce. I actually have not taken a look at this listing. I only pulled up the first couple, but I want you to see that this is how manual sourcing works. Right now, this is actually unavailable. So you would be the only seller on this listing, which is pretty amazing. And the advantage to being the only seller on a listing, if you can find this for sale at a retail site, is that then you'd be the only seller. So you can price it at whatever you want, most likely at a profitable price. You can see here, the last time a seller was in stock for any length of time, they did sell probably 2, 3, 4 of these at that time, I would assume. If I click into this, we can see the stock was 5. So they sold out of 5 of them within just a few weeks of being in stock, which is pretty awesome. And they did that at $12.99. If we were able to find this at essentially sell this at a $12.99 price point, and we were to find this at around $3 price point, in store, which would be a little bit more expensive than what Walmart's currently selling that other version of it at, we would still be able to profit $3.46 or 115% ROI, which is pretty amazing. And we would be the only seller. And really the power with that is that right here, you can see it says currently unavailable. So whenever it does come back in stock, Amazon will send an email to people that have purchased this in the past or have this on their list, and they will be alerted to the fact that now this is back in stock. So this would be one that I would definitely go out and look for. It may just be discontinued and not exist anymore, which is why it's not on Amazon. It's not stocked on there, but I don't know unless I were to continue to search for it. So that is the manual method, right? You are going to be finding a brand, whether you're looking through any category or you actually have a brand specifically that you want to look up. You go to Amazon.com, you put in the brand, maybe a couple extra little points of, barbecue or sauce or even seasoning, that kind of thing. I could even put in Bullseye, but naturally that's going to pull up a bunch of other brands. But I could look up Bullseye sauce, right? And I can do that. And that would be another method of sourcing. And we're going to find similar listings naturally, because this is going to be the same products. But I wonder if they have any type of seasoning. Let's see if they do have seasoning. So Bullseye seasoning, I'm not sure if they do. Doesn't look like they do. There's a bunch of stuff there that ultimately, I would avoid. So if Bullseye does not have seasoning, then I would continue down the line of sauces, right? And then if I was looking in a particular category, I would then move on to the next brand. So we can see Bullseye here. Most likely there isn't going to be anything else, but Bulldog, right? Let's say we were in the grocery category, and the next thing after I've exhausted all of the Bullseye listings, I would then look at Bulldog for this sauce that they have, right? So that would be the process of manual sourcing. Now that we've covered manual sourcing, let's get to the second option that kind of speeds this up a little bit, but it does give you a highly profitable way to source products. And this is an easy, natural progression, in my opinion, utilizing the Keepa Data Product Finder. Now, before we get into that, I actually do have over 60 different sourcing systems that I've used in my business. I continue to grow and scale all those systems as well. You can check those out at askjimmysmith.com/evergreen. I do a 2-month live program, over 20 live sourcing sessions. You get access to all of my sourcing systems at that askjimmysmith.com/evergreen link. You can sign up for the next one whenever we do announce that. Now, let's get into the second one, which is a basic method of sourcing on the Keepa Data Product Finder. So you go to Keepa, you click on Data, you click on Product Finder, and then you start to input extra filters that you want inside of here. There are millions of different combinations. You really think about the different ways you can utilize this. But in this case, I put in Bullseye Barbecue just to pull back the listings from Bullseye. So this is very similar method to manual sourcing on Amazon. Let's say I was just on Walmart. I get rid of these Amazon searches here, and I wanted to use the Product Finder Finder to pull back the exact listings that I wanted for that brand. If I'm looking at Bullseye on Walmart, I would then come over to the Product Finder and I could put in Bullseye Barbecue. Now notice a couple things here. One, we've got 42 products that just comes up whenever I put in Bullseye Barbecue. If I show active filters, you'll see it's just Bullseye Barbecue here. I don't have any offer count or anything in there. I don't know why that's even pulling up, honestly. But if I were to go here and change this apostrophe and take that out, then it goes from 42 down to 9. So that's interesting. So this tells me that Keepa is going to be very sensitive to the exact punctuation that you put in there, the exact words that you put in there. If I were to go in and do barbecue, spell that out, now there's 14 products. So you have a bunch of different ways that you can source for the same exact brand just by looking up these different keywords. Now, if I go back and put in this apostrophe, because this had the most results, we look up Bullseye Barbecue this way, I can then just look at the products that are on here, 42 products, or I can actually add in a lot more parameters to find things that I specifically would want to source. So if I go back to the advanced filter, I could actually add in things such as the sales rank, or maybe no sales rank. I can put in a specific price. I could say I want to see a minimum new price of $10, and now it drops those 42 products down to 9. The reason I would do $10 as a minimum new price is because if I am buying a barbecue sauce for $2, $3, $4, I want to ensure there's enough profit in there for me to source and send it in. Maybe I realize that that's a little bit too high and I put in 9, and now that really didn't change any. We've got 9 products with $9 of a new price point. Now, it could also be that those other listings are currently out of stock, and so I would want to take a look at those, because as we saw with that one listing that was out of stock, could have been a great opportunity for me to find that and be the only seller at the time. And so as you can see here, I could then just click through all of these, right? I could go through this one and see what ultimately this honey barbecue sauce is. A pack of 12. I would probably avoid that right now. It'd be a pretty heavy thing to send in. This is that 18-ounce bottle. Let's see if this is the same one. This is the Kansas City style barbecue sauce. Now, it doesn't look like this seller has sold much here, which is actually not all that surprising looking at the year. And it used to sell at $9.99. Okay, so I would most likely, if I were them, want to try to list this at $9.99, not list this at $16.99, because it looks like that's the actual price point that most people were buying it at back whenever it was in stock consistently. And additionally, you could just keep scrolling through these things. Now, if you wanted to utilize the Keepa Product Finder, and instead of having a price point, I actually want to see out of stock listings, and so I'm going to go ahead and do that. Well, now if I'm looking at out of stock only listings, then I've got 28 products, so I could then be the only FBA seller on these listings. And we can see if I hover over this one, I believe this was that Hickory one. We may have seen this. Actually, this is a different listing. So it looks like this was selling at $9.99 and $8.25 back whenever it did come in stock, and here back in $8.70. So I would want to go through and look up the Bullseye Hickory Smoked 18-ounce single bottle listing. It has a bunch of reviews, and I could then find these products hopefully around $2.50 to $3 and most likely make some money at this price point. So you can see the power of this, right? If you're ultimately able to use the Keepa Product Finder to your advantage, and if you're using a site like Walmart where you can see all the products they actually have in stock, currently they only have this original barbecue sauce in stock, or if you know your local stores have this product in stock and you're doing retail arbitrage, just make a list of all the things, all the brands that you want to take a look at, or take pictures of those aisles, and you can come back and do this Keepa Product Finder method very simply. It's a very easy way to just get going on the Product Finder and utilize it to your advantage as well. Now, there are a couple other things you can do. You can be very creative. Maybe you don't want to see anything with pack, like you don't want to see a pack of 2 or a pack of 3. You could always do negative pack, and then that will knock out 14 other listings. We were at 28, brought it down to 14. If I click on that, now we aren't seeing any of those listings that say pack of 2 or pack of 3, and so we're only looking at the single listings, which makes this very simple to go through the listings and not be worried about the grocery multi-pack rules, right? This would be, it looks like Bullseye every day. It looks like this is the original barbecue sauce. It says 17.5 ounces instead of 18, but it looks like that was selling at $11.99. Again, these aren't going to sell a ton, and this does take some extra time, but it does make good profit if you find, especially if you do this on brands where you know you're already making money. If you're somebody already selling on Amazon, take the brands that are doing well and run it through these methods and find more listings for those brands. Just an easy way to start capitalizing on those opportunities that you already have in front of you, and to utilize a sourcing site that you have like Walmart, where there's already products here, and you can run it through the Product Finder to find your exact products that you want to specifically source for. So now that we've completed the first 2 most profitable sourcing methods, I want to get to this third one, which is no sales rank sourcing. Now, there's a ton of other profitable methods that I cover in Evergreen sourcing and on this YouTube channel and other things. I'll put links down below for a lot of those. Some of those methods can be out of stock sourcing. It can be things such as increasing prices and decreasing sellers. It can be popular culture items. It can be really just about anything where you can find profit using the Keepa Product Finder. But this one gets a little bit more advanced, and I like to use it because the thought process is there's no sales rank on an ASIN, which means that ultimately these products are going to be passed up by a lot of FBA sellers that only source based on sales rank. And so I like to look for these items intentionally. Now, we can also manipulate this Keepa Product Finder to be able to show us items that have a history of sales in multiple different ways. I'm showing you one today, and this one that I'll be using is using the bought in the past month feature, but you can utilize review counts. You can utilize a whole bunch of different parameters that you can put into the Keepa Product Finder to find items that are going to be selling based on a lot of other parameters without a sales rank on the listing. And so as we're looking at this, let's take a look at the parameters I have here. So I'm going to click on show active filters. I'm going to zoom in here for you. So first we have no sales rank because that's what we're looking for. This is a very profitable method because there's typically going to be less sellers on these listings, meaning the prices can be higher in some cases. But your mileage may vary. It may take some extra time to be able to find these listings. Sometimes you may have good success, sometimes you may not, but ultimately that's the thought process. The second thing here is I don't want to compete with Amazon in this case. Now maybe I'm okay competing with Amazon in the future, but I'm going to put Amazon as out of stock currently. Now I also have a minimum price point of $15 in the new section for the new price point. So I want to ensure that I at least have some, average selling price above $15. That helps to cut out a bunch of different products. And then I'm currently following the same method that we were using in the prior two methods. I'm currently using grocery and gourmet food as a category. Now you could then run the same exact parameters through a different category. You could put in arts and crafts, tools and home improvement, office supplies, whatever it is that you're wanting to sell and unrestricted in selling. You can put that in and get a bunch of more results or, a bunch less results. If, right now I think we have 14 for this grocery and gourmet food category, but you may get 50 in one category and 5 in another. So you can also do that. Additionally, for the offer counts, I actually put 3 FBA sellers. Sometimes I like to put 2 or 1 or just leave this blank and only utilize the total offer count here, or the count of new offers anyway. But in this case, I wanted to use FBA. And the reason is because if I have FBA sellers in there, it typically means that there's either an arbitrage or a wholesale opportunity. And so it's going to really narrow the results down. I could be missing out on some really good ASINs by having this parameter put in there, but it's also just going to narrow down the results, especially for the purposes of this video that I'm making here. Additionally, though, we've got variations. And so I'm going to put no variations. Now, if you're comfortable selling variations, don't use this filter. It's going to widen the amount of results that you're going to get. I also put in here 90 days out of stock percentage for Amazon. I want to ensure that Amazon is out of stock at least 70% of the time over these last 90 days. And so that just ensures almost that Amazon's basically never going to be on the listing. And then lastly is this bought in the past month feature. This is how we can take a no sales rank listing, but find items that are showing sales, and a lot of sales at that. 50 items bought in the past month is the lowest that Amazon provides. You can't go under that. But in this case, it allows me to see any listing that's selling really well without a sales rank, has multiple FBA sellers. It's in the grocery category, but this will significantly limit the amount of items that pull back for a no sales rank search. And the reason is because Amazon doesn't provide this data on every ASIN. There are plenty of products that are selling more than 50 times per month that Amazon does not tell us that. And so I may be missing out on opportunities. And so that's where you'd want to utilize the review count. If reviews are increasing, then that's going to typically, lean to showing that a product is selling consistently. Also, you can utilize a decrease in sellers. Like maybe it's a steady decrease in sellers, which usually means that sellers are selling out of those products. Could be increasing prices and other factors that you can use to find these different products. Additionally, you could also use a sales rank history or average, right? You could go and put in an average sales rank over the last 30 or 90 days, which means that the sales rank just disappeared for some reason, but it was selling and had an average sales rank for a while. So you can use these filters in a bunch of different ways to find products without a sales rank that are selling well. In this case, I wanted to use bought in the past month, kind of speeds it up a little bit, and it ensures that data is actually from Amazon and kind of helps that process. So now in the grocery category, I have 14 products down here that pulled up. And now if I click on find products, you can see there's a bunch of different things that pull up. There's this Vienna peppers, which if we were to click into this, you can see that there's no sales rank. It's selling at $17 essentially right now. This over the last year sometimes is at $10 by Vienna Beef themselves, but it is up at 18. So if this is something, I would definitely be looking for this. This is a 12-ounce jar. Now it is glass. So you'd have to do some extra prepping on this, but But ultimately, if you can get this bottle of peppers for probably under $8, you're going to be probably in a profitable territory, and it is selling fairly well, even without a sales rank. These are the types of listings that I like to look for. Now, one that I specifically have up here, I believe, is right there. I wanted to, just for sake of time, I'm going to show you what I pulled up. So this is Butler Foods, soy curls, 8-ounce pack of 2. Now, if you take a look at this over the last year, you can see that the price has stayed fairly steady. It's gone up a little bit. It recently has dropped down for some reason, but the sellers had started to come out or sell out during the middle of last year. But this sells over 1,000 times per month, which is insane to me that this product, this 2-pack, sells that much. And if we look at all, it actually used to have a sales rank down in the sub 5,000s. It was a 3,000, 4,000 sales rank at one point before it just disappeared. And you can see whenever it did have a sales rank that it had a lot more sellers on this listing over this time period. And since the sales rank has fallen off, a lot of sellers have not come back on the listing. Some are starting to, but ultimately a lot of sellers did fall off because there was no sales rank. And most sellers are typically sourcing based on the sales rank. And so to me, this is a huge indicator. You've also seen the price go up over that time since the sales rank fell off because the sellers also dropped off. So that's why I love to source the no sales rank way, because it does typically increase profits on listings. You're going to have a little bit less competition, and you can find a lot of great ASINs by doing this. Now let's take a look at this. So I actually opened up Amazon here. We've got a 2-pack on this. Now there are rules around the grocery category with multi-packs, etc. I've covered that on other videos. For the purposes of this video, we're going to assume that this meets those rules. And the reason is just because this has been on Amazon for a long time. I would want to do some extra digging into making sure that this UPC code for this particular product actually matches the brand for Butler Foods for this 2-pack, but ultimately that would be the only extra check that I'd be looking for. Point of this though is to show you how to source using no sales rank listings. And so in this case, we look at this, we can actually currently buy this at $8.66. If I go to Butler Foods back here, I believe that I've got this, let me look this up, soy curls for Butler Foods. Now whenever we do that, you can see that they usually have all of these products. There it is. They actually are selling an 18-pack of these for $77.88. So this is kind of the bulk that you can purchase directly from Butler Foods on a retail purchase. And so if we're looking at this, $77.88 divided by 18 ends up coming out to $8.66, because hold on, let me just do that for you real quick. Divided by 18 is $4.33 times 2, and that's $8.66. So we're at $1 in profit right now. The reason I wanted to show you this is because this also looks like a prime wholesale opportunity. So I didn't want it just to be an arbitrage thing. I wanted to show you how you can use this for wholesale, because as I'm looking at this on Butler Foods website, they have where to buy. And whenever you click on where to buy, it says, hey, there's a lot of stores, restaurants, and distributors that carry these things. You can also order them online from this store. Ultimately, in my area, let's just say I looked up, Celebration, Florida. Sunbelt Natural Foods is a distributor. Now, I'm assuming because of the price of these products that I'm going to be able to, if I can open up a wholesale account, that I'd be able to buy this for probably around $6, maybe $3 a bag or something. So that way it could sell at the retail price. And then I've got a good profitable price point for this. Now, looking up Sunbelt Natural Foods, they supply some pretty big brands to this area, but it looks like I can just come here and click on become a customer, and it's going to give me the ability to submit my information here. And if ultimately they ask about Amazon or anything like that, then I would have to be honest with them, and maybe I can't open the account. But this is a great way to start learning about different distributors and wholesale options as well. You can see a 1-pack here sells at $9.99. It also does not have a sales rank, but it sells over 1,000 times in the last month. So this would definitely be a wholesale account that I would want to be looking for, because I have a feeling that if I'm able to get it, I will find these at a profitable price point, and there's no sales rank on it, and it's going to be a continual thing that I can reorder over and over again. Now, that is for the purposes of wholesale. Now, if we were to take a look at some of these other things, I actually did not take a look at this Vienna Sport Peppers. I don't know if this exists anywhere for a profitable price point. If this is selling at 18, let's just see what pulls up on the Google machine, if we can find this anywhere. So right now, this 3-pack says $4.47 at Walmart. which is interesting. This is supermarketitaly.com for $6.99. Let's see what Walmart. This is a 48 pack. I don't know if that's true or not. Let's see if this is actually selling by Walmart themselves or not. This is a pickup. So I would be selling this from Walmart, or buying this from Walmart, since it'd be a pickup. It does say Gurney Supercenter, so I guess that's the area. But anyway, if I can buy a single jar of these for $4.47, let's take a look at what this listing would actually be profitable at. And if this is the same thing too. This is Vienna beef sport peppers, 12 ounce, shelf stable. All right, if I look at the 12 ounce for this, it would cost me $4.47 single if I was able to pick this up from my local Walmart. I mean, this is gonna be profitable for sure. We would make, take that off, we would make $4.81 or 108% return on investment for this particular product that sells currently over 100 times per month at $18 price point. Very little competition. You can see whenever Vienna beef does come on this, they sell it at $10. So that's the only concern that I would have, is that maybe they would come in and sell this at 10, and in that case I would end up losing money. Okay, so you have to kind of weigh or hedge your bets here. I would be willing to send in a few of these at that price point, because over the last 3 months here, for the most part, it's stayed up at this $17, $18 price point. But ultimately, it's going to be up to you and your comfort level. I would also start looking for other jars of this and see if there's other good listings for Vienna sport peppers, because ultimately this isn't the only listing out there. So then you could go back through my other first two methods of manual sourcing and the Keepa Product Finder, looking for these products. You could dig deeper on the brand itself and find more of these products. This is how you start to separate your reselling business on Amazon and Walmart, for instance, by doing some of these methods that are looking for higher profit items from manual sourcing, Keepa, and also no sales rank that provides some selling history. So let me know if you have any questions down below. Those are just 3 different ways that you can find some of the most profitable items for reselling on Amazon. Again, I cover over 60 of them in the Evergreen sourcing program at askjimmysmith.com/evergreen. Or if you're a seller that's at $5,000 or more per month and you're looking to grow and scale on Walmart, Amazon, and other places, then check out my Business Building Legends community at askjimmysmith.com/legends. You do have to apply. It's a high-level community mastermind, and we've been around for 7-8 years at this point, and I just love being a part of that community. But post your questions down below. Happy to help in any way that I can. Hope you have a great rest of your day and a blessed rest of your week.